What up, people? Turn down the music a little bit. So, back with another video. Today's video, we're going to be talking about tips on staying safe on the road, and just kind of some advice for new riders is the general gist that I have for the video. One thing that you definitely want to do when you're first getting into riding is taking a course. I think in just about every state that you have, you'll end up having some kind of course that you can take to be able to get your license. Unfortunately for me, I'm a hypocrite, and I never did that because I wasn't able to. I couldn't take the time off work for it, and I didn't really honestly have reliable enough transportation to make it up into town to be able to take the course, so I never ended up doing it. But it's definitely something that anybody who's looking to get into riding should do first. Like, it's kind of dangerous. Luckily for me, I was able to kind of have some help, like, because I bought a bike before I learned how to ride, and one of my best friends knows how to ride, so he was able to take it home for me. So after he took it home for me, basically I was able to practice around in the neighborhood after that. Got a car wash coming up, wow. But yeah, anybody who's just first starting to get into riding and thinking about it, definitely take the training courses for it. Another thing that really helped me when I was learning how to ride was Dan the Fireman YouTuber. He had some pretty useful videos talking about like rider safety, and he has like drills and shit that you can do to become a better rider. He's got great videos. He's definitely a good person to watch. Shit. I was definitely gonna split that, but sometimes when I'm talking, I don't end up really like filtering it all, because you really want to have a little bit more focus when you're filtering or splitting, which I don't really split because it's not legal here, but here in Arizona filtering is legal, so I'm able to do that. But whenever I do, I like to be pretty focused just to mitigate any chances of crashing. But today we're gonna stop where one of my friends works real quick off camera to drop off something they left in my car the other night. So I'll kind of be back in a second here. But yeah, really, if you know what you're doing, or even if you don't, the best thing you can do as a new rider is to or as a rider in general, is to always be aware of your surroundings. Like, obviously you can't really tell from the camera because you can't see my eyes, but at all times I'm always looking around to see other cars that are around me, just so I know like who's close behind me, who's on my left, who's on my right. If people are, there's a lot of tells that people have where sometimes you can just tell when somebody's about to switch lanes, and that's kind of stuff that you just learn naturally over time. Like, I know everybody's different, but in my personal opinion, I think people should drive before they ride. I don't think that you should learn how to ride a bike before you learn to drive. Just because, like, you're obviously more prone to crashing when you're like a new, like, just person on the road, whether you're driving or riding. You're obviously going to be a little bit more prone to crashing just as somebody who's new to the road. And I've been driving since I was 15. I'm 21 now, so I already have years of experience. I've spent a quarter of my life driving, and from driving I learned a lot. And I think that knowledge is kind of necessary to anybody who's thinking about getting into riding, just already kind of knowing like the things that people do on the road, the way that you can just kind of guess what people are doing. Like, that knowledge isn't something that you learn overnight. That's something that takes time. So I think that's one of the biggest reasons that I have not been in a crash on my bike yet, is because I already was driving around for years. So I already know a lot about road safety, because most road safety tips and just knowledge in general doesn't have to be like specifically driving or specifically riding. They kind of go hand in hand, because at the end of the day, you're on the same roads. It doesn't really matter what you're in. It's just obviously more dangerous being on a bike, and a lot more fun too. But yeah, the biggest thing is to just, like I already said, just be aware of your surroundings. That's by far the best advice that I can give. Like if somebody asks me for one piece of advice on getting into riding and like being safe on the road, it would be being aware of your surroundings. That's one of the biggest things. Another big thing to be aware of when you're riding is it helps a lot to be on familiar roads. Like for instance, when I learned how to ride, I only rode around in my neighborhood for the first like 2-3 days. Like my first few hours of experience was just in my neighborhood, and most of that was because I was learning how to ride, not because I was like just trying to be extra safe. Like I learned how to ride in my neighborhood. I watched a lot of videos, I did a lot of tests online and stuff, and that's kind of what gave me the confidence to be able to get one and then just to eventually get on the road. Next thing I'd say after that would probably be know your ride, know your limits. You know, the last thing you want to do as a beginner is group rides. Like I still haven't really done any group rides at all. I've rode with one of my friends before, but I don't do group rides at all yet, and I probably will soon, but there's just not really any out here. I'd have to go up into town for one, so I haven't done any group rides yet. But you definitely want to learn how to be safe by yourself before you learn how to be safe with others. But yeah, like biggest things, know your limits. Practice makes perfect, but if you know you don't know how to do something, then don't do it. You know, like you should not be a beginner and get like a 600cc sport bike and just start trying to learn how to wheelie right off the bat. You know, you got to learn how to like actually ride and be able to think and make like fast-paced decisions before you start learning how to do like tricks or anything. You know, because the biggest thing is, you know, safety and survival on a bike. Like, yeah, it's fun, but you need to make sure that you know how to stay safe and stay alive on the road. Another tip that I give is lane position. You can kind of notice it with the camera, but generally the middle of the road is always dirtier, funny enough, and that's because like oil and shit drops on the road. You know, people who don't fix their shit and have like oil leaks and stuff, they end up leaking oil out onto the roads, and it's especially a problem at like intersections and parking lots, because those are where cars are like sitting still for an extended period of time, and you want to try to avoid those oily spots. So generally I really only ride in the middle, like directly in the middle, if I'm like trying to stay visible for whatever reason. But that kind of goes into the next tip, which is staying visible. It's definitely debated in the riding community on like visibility, because there are some people, mostly like sport bike, like go fast riders, which would make sense for them, who say, you know, to pretend that you're invisible. And face value, I think that's pretty good advice, just at that. But I also think that you need to try to make yourself as visible as possible. You know, like when I'm riding directly behind someone, I usually try to ride on like the side of a car, and you do the same thing when you're coming up to a stop. Not like on the side of it, like directly next to the car, but I'll try to show you when we pull up to another light. You always want to be in a position where you can get yourself out of a scenario. But specifically, while you sit at the like the corner of a car, I think is the best way to put it. The corner. You want to sit behind the corner of a car so that you have an escape route. You know, if something were to happen, like if you see that somebody's coming up behind you, you're able to just like boom, throttle, get out of there. You know, and go in between other cars. In Arizona, it's illegal to just go between. So depending on the situation, sometimes I won't. Sometimes I won't sit behind any cars, but like coming up here, it's not going to be legal to filter at all, because this is only like a one lane going forward. There needs to be like 2 lanes of traffic. And so because of that, I'm going to end up sitting behind this, was this an Infiniti in front of us? So I'll kind of show you, like right now I'm coming up close to them, and I'm perfectly lined up like with the corner of their vehicle. And we're actually turning left and they're going straight, so. But right here, coming up, the most visible spot at this intersection is going to be right here on this corner behind the Global Water vehicle. The reason for that is because he can directly see me in his side view mirror and in his mirror behind him at the same time. And people that are coming the other way can also see that there's somebody behind him. So, the reason you do that is A, visibility, and B, planning an escape route. And, you know, honestly, like, I think I might take back what I said earlier. I think the greatest tip, I mean, I guess in terms of me giving the greatest tip, that's my personal advice, but I think the best thing you can do in all reality is just watch videos on safety. You know, like if anybody's watching this, you know, I'm definitely not going to be the best person to give advice on. I'm not going to pretend that I'm like some expert. You know, I think one of the best people you can watch is Dan the Fireman. He truly does make really great videos on rider safety. That would probably actually be my best tip to new riders, is watching videos like his. Oh, you're okay. I'm not in a rush. You too, ma'am. But yeah, guys, that pretty much sums up the video. Thank you to anybody who tuned in. Continue watching videos and stay safe out there, guys. Peace.